Hi, and welcome to the Quick and Dirty Romance Podcasts. We're your hosts. I'm Skye McDonald, author of the ANTI-BELLE series.
And I'm Sarah Smith, author of Faker. Each episode will dive deep into what it's like to be a contemporary romance author. We'll talk writing inspiration, give you the inside scoop about the publishing world, chat about how we write those infamous sex scenes, and more. And then we'll pull out and wrap it up in 30 minutes or less, but we promise to leave you satisfied.
So if you haven't already read our books, which are Not Suitable for Work and Off the Record by me, Skye McDonald, and Faker by Sarah, we want you to be sure to check them out after you listen to this podcast. And please DM us with any questions or even requests for future episodes that you might have, because we'd really love to hear from you. But today's episode is about everyone's favorite part of being a writer, editing. Isn't it the dream to have poured your heart and soul out page after page until you finally get that satisfying ability to type the end, only to realize your work has barely begun? I mean, isn't that everybody's dream? I don't know.
Oh my God, yeah. It's a dream. It is something, yeah.
Editing. We're going to talk about the editing process today and how we tackle this beast of a task. And for our show, because I'm sorry, but in my day-to-day life, I am an English teacher, and there is a massive difference between editing and revising. I tell my students that when you're editing, you're turning the screws, and when you're revising, you are Miley Cyrus on the wrecking ball. Okay, so revising is content, and you make huge changes to the plot, and editing is technically grammar and style. But we're going to talk about it as editing and mean all the things. So let's do it. Sarah, you actually just finished. Well, first of all, huge shout out to Sarah, because today was her cover reveal for her second book. Woohoo! I'm so excited.
Yeah, I can actually say what it is now. My second book is Simmer Down, and it's coming out October 13th. So yeah, sorry for the shameless promo there, but
no, sorry, I'm pumped. Woo! And the cover is cute. I love it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's adorable and I love it. But I actually just finished. Not that long ago, I completed revisions on Simmer Down. So I guess it's a good time to talk about this whole revision and editing process, I guess.
Yes, because I am now in the throes of editing book 3, which is due for, I believe we just were talking about this. I believe I'm looking at April 7th. So yeah, editing and revision is on our minds. Talk about it, Sarah. Like, how long between drafting it and did you get into the editing? Like, tell us all the things.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So I will tell you all the things. So for me, for Simmer Down, I guess I'll speak specifically to that. It took me like probably 4 months to write the first draft, which I know is really long compared to how some people write, how long it takes some writers to write their own manuscripts. And then I just spent probably, oh my gosh. So after it goes to beta readers, what I normally do is I try to like do something that takes my mind off of that whole story completely, so that I can come back to it and revise and edit with a fresh mindset. So when this book was with beta readers, which you were one of them, Skye, and thank you for being the beta reader, one of the many beta readers on this. So while that was in the hands of beta readers, I was like working on other things. I was watching like murder documentaries on Netflix, just things to get my mind not in a romance place, because I feel like sometimes if you are too into the romance world, you won't see, like, when the manuscript comes back to you, you're not going to see changes or what you need to do differently as easily as you would if you had a completely fresh mind after working on something completely different. So for me, I think that first round of revision took probably about a month, and that was the major revision. So like for me, the major or the things that I see as major edits or major revisions are things that are going to change the rest of the manuscript, things that change like the plot or like the journey that your characters go through. all that kind of stuff. And that's what I tackle first. And obviously every writer is different in how they do things in their process. But that's how I can do it first, because I feel like if I can get in there and do like that hard part, the stuff that's going to be like the most difficult at first, it makes the whole rest of the revision process much more manageable, because I've gotten the most difficult part, or what I think is the most difficult part, out of the way. And then from there, I go on and do what's like the next most difficult. And then finally, I'm at the point where I'm just like tweaking like the descriptions of the settings, or I misspelled the character's name, or oh wait, like this guy has brown hair here, now he has blonde hair, like that kind of stuff. So that's kind of, and I know it's hard sometimes to like totally explain how, at least for me, how exactly I do something like editing and revising, because it's such a personal process, because it depends on you as the writer. But that's kind of how I do it. How do you do it, Skye?
Well, so first of all, apologies for the interruptions, because I swear I don't live in like some sort of bizarre place, because like you're hearing sirens. I'm almost thinking that if we keep this up, I'm going to have to start doing a giveaway for the first person who DMs me when they hear a siren in the background. Thank you, Brooklyn. Thank you, Brooklyn. Sorry. So that aside, because I'm listening to you and then my brain is splitting. I'm like, oh God, more sound pollution. Anyway, sorry. So I guess it's an interesting thing. I think it's brilliant what you said about like taking your mind outside of romance. Because part of me is like, yeah, that's great. And part of me is like, why would you want to do that? But no, for real, like, so mine has been very different, I think, in so much as like, I drafted all of my books. Like, so the ANTI-BELLE series is all drafted out. And so, you know, there's this sort of conversation around it. Like, so I was just saying, like, book 3 is coming out, but they're all in full draft form, which is interesting and fun, except for that when I say draft, it's like, oh no, you can't look at it. It's just that they're all a complete story. And so like the sort of loops that I've gone through since I started writing Not Suitable for Work, it's like I banged out Not Suitable for Work in like, I don't know, however much time. And then immediately Off the Record was in my head, so I got started on that. But then like halfway through Off the Record, like book 3, which is Nemesis, started to be like, oh, but what about this? And I was like, oh my God, I don't have time for this. But anyway, all that to say, there was a lot of time of just draft. And then it was time to kind of start looping back. And there were definitely times between novels that I would loop back and I would do a revision. But really at the beginning of the sort of journey, what I would do is I would loop back and revise for like style and content, but nothing like really major happened to the plot change, or not major changes happened to the plot. It was just more like, okay, well, I can see how this could sound better, this could read better. But then I got connected with my agent, who I worked with her for a little while, and when we talk about publishing next episode, we'll be talking more about that. But she gave me a lot of true like revisions to make on how to get Not Suitable for Work to really be more than it had been before. And so that really helped me in terms of eye-opening and seeing like, okay, these are the major wrecking ball changes that I need to bring about. So for example, like, I guess like I had to bring Ben's voice in, right? Like in book 1, all of my books are now dual POV, but initially like I didn't think that Ben really needed to speak. So he didn't. And so bringing him in, that was a major change to make. And then, you know, there were other elements like his backstory, and they're different. And actually, what happened to Celeste in her life in New York changed pretty radically too. So just being able to go back through that. But I definitely, as you were saying, like time away from the manuscript is super important. Just thinking about other things, or even like for me, writing other books, because you have to let it lie for a while. Like you really can't, like in my opinion, like you can't just immediately start editing, because I think all you really will be doing is making the stylistic, like grammatical changes, because otherwise you haven't had a chance to kind of sit with the story as a whole. So yeah, I think that time, at least, let's say at least a month or 2, you really want it to be able to like rest. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a good, can I ask, like, do you go, like, or do you do what I do? Do you go on Netflix and binge watch, like, Making a Murderer to get yourself in a weird mindset?
I'm gonna say that I'm probably more likely to watch something like Stranger Things,
Oh, okay.
or
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica because I'm also a sci-fi nerd. Um, but yeah, I would definitely want to like give myself a break. And honestly too, like in this writer's life, people say like, "Oh, are you watching this show?" And I'm like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So it can be really nice to just kind of give yourself that break and say like, okay, I'm not actually going to do this right now. And that can actually be a really cool time when like new stories start to occur to you because you do give yourself that mental space. It's really important. Um, so I know you work with an editor, right?
Yes, I do. I have an editor at the publisher Berkeley that I work with. Yeah.
And yeah, so like with me, like I worked with my agent on the editing, and then of course, as you said, like I just can't, for people who are working, I guess like sort of to speak directly to part of our listening audience right now, people who are working on becoming a writer or who have this draft of a whip, as we say, work in progress, who are really like in the initial phases of it and just really having fun with it. There is a lot, like it's a super cool journey, but like when you're going through this, if you get serious about publishing, whether traditionally or through an agency, you really I really can't speak enough, and Sarah, I'm sure you will too, but like the critique partners and the people you have to help you get the feedback are just so tremendous. And that becomes like a really like interesting part. I know a lot of people get very nervous about they like having other people read their work. I feel like I get really excited. And
Yeah.
like, tell me what you think. But
Yeah.
I sounded really southern when I said that, by the way. But I don't know, like I just think that's like a super helpful piece in terms of like seeing a broader perspective.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally agree with that. Yeah, sorry not to interrupt you, but I think I mean I can totally get how you can feel really self-conscious about asking somebody to read or give feedback on something that you're really proud of and that you worked really hard on, because nobody wants to be told that something that you worked on sucks. And if somebody is a good, you know, critique partner or beta reader or editor, they're not going to tell you mean things about the things that you write. They'll be constructive in their criticism. They're not going to be mean. They're not going to try to tear you down. And they'll also tell you like what they like and what you did.
mm-hmm.
Right. But yeah, but I'm definitely to the point now where I get excited when I give something to someone to read because I'm really eager to see what they think, because I want to make the story better. And I know that by these people looking at it, whether it's, you know, my beta readers or my awesome editor, Sarah at Berkeley, like it's going to be better because of what they have to say about it. At least that's for me.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And as you said, as you get into the process of finding these people, there definitely is, and I think we've talked about this a little bit before, there definitely is a trial and error. And there will be like those moments where you think you might have made a match, if you will, and it actually doesn't work out because for whatever reason, like their style and your style doesn't vibe, or like what they're giving you in terms of feedback just isn't working for you. But like let me be very clear on that. That doesn't mean that they are telling you they are like just praising you all over the place. Like I don't want to be praised all over the place. I want to be like I want to know what you like. But that's one of the reasons like I've always loved working with you is because like I know I'm going to get the moments where you're like, "Oh, yes, this is working for me." And then the
Yeah.
moments where you're like, I think that you really need to think about this again," are in equal measure. And so there's
Yeah.
never a feeling of like, oh, she's just going to stroke the old ego over here. It's like, no, she's going to tell me what doesn't work, and I need to hear that. But at the same time, too, like just finding those people that you find the groove with, there is a trial and error, and you have to be ready to like have somebody start reading for you, and you being like, oh no, this isn't what I wanted to hear at all. And again, that's not about like whether or not they like it. It's about like the style of feedback they're giving. Like I remember at one point I had somebody reading it, and they were like, do people use semicolons in novel writing? And I was like, okay, I'm not sure this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's not really the thing I really wanted you to focus on. Second of all, I know how to use a semicolon, so thanks. So yeah, just like finding that groove. But once you do, you definitely want the people who will give you like, oh, I love this, but who are also like, no, girl, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, hopefully this goes without saying, but you're definitely one of those people for me too. I also think it's really important to have multiple beta readers as a writer. So I have multiple people that I give whatever I'm working on, whatever manuscript, whatever book, who I give those to. But it's like you also help me improve my my writing, because there's a really big difference, at least in my writing, from what the first draft looks like to what the final book looks like. And it's like a lot of work and a lot of bad writing that hopefully readers don't see at the end. So thank you to all of my amazing beta readers and you, Skye, for helping. You help me put out good stuff in the world, and that's really important, because I don't want my first drafts ever seeing the light of day.
So do we want to name our main beta readers right now, or do we want to leave them behind the curtain?
We could do that. I mean, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Sure. So you, obviously, because I've been talking about you. I also have she's the very first beta reader I ever had. She looked at the earliest version of Faker that anyone has ever looked at, and her name's Lexi Banner. Lexi's amazing. She's really honest, but she's not mean. She's very thoughtful in her feedback. So I owe a lot to Lexi. She helped make Faker into a decent revision after I gave it to her. I also have a lovely beta reader who's also a romance writer. Her name is Stephanie Simpson.
Woo!
And I think people who listen to this podcast know who she is, because she writes brilliant, amazing British contemporary romance. She's wonderful. I feel like, we both write romance, but I feel like the kind of things that we write are very different. So it's nice to get the perspective of somebody who writes in your genre, but who's giving a little bit of an outside mind, just to make sure that everything you're writing makes sense. Everything I'm writing makes sense to the story and all that good stuff. Also, she really helped me with Simmer Down, because in Simmer Down, the love interest is English. He's from England. And I obviously am not from England. I'm American. And so I needed a little bit of help making sure that he sounded authentic and not like a caricature. And obviously that will be up to whoever reads it, however they think that he sounds. But I was really happy with how he turned out. And also, he does not like being shouted out, but I just DeAndre, if you're listening, you were also a really good beta reader for Simmer Down, so thank you very much. You helped the love interest in that sound like an authentic person and not a British caricature, so I really appreciate that. So yeah, I guess those are the beta readers that I used for and you know what? JL Paradox. She looked at Simmer Down later on in the process, so it wasn't as much of a hot mess as it was when you looked at it, Skye, so I apologize.
Shush. I loved it.
Yeah, thank you. But JL was also amazing. She is also a romance writer, and she just is a very thoughtful and sensitive beta reader, and just really helped shape that story into what it is. Sorry, it sounds like I'm I feel like I'm I don't know, making a speech to all these people who I love.
Well, that's part of the fun, though, right? That's part of the fun.
Yeah. But these are all amazing beta readers who I adore and who help make what I write so much better. So yeah, that's me. How about you?
Well, since you mentioned him, obviously too. Go ahead and get out of the way. But yeah, obviously DeAndre helped immensely with getting my voice right for Nick in Off the Record. So sorry, my friend, but you are getting shouted out by both of us. Here we are. I have to say also too, like obviously you, like we bonded over this whole experience of beta reading. So hello. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I'm sorry, I just drew a blank.
No, that's fine. It's kind of put you on the spot, you know?
Yeah, no. My beta reader Bonnie for Not Suitable for Work. She was super great. She was one of my early beta readers. She really helped. I'm gonna shout out one of my faves. She fangirls so nicely over my guys. But Lily Michaels is a tremendous beta reader for me, and I'm super excited because I'm going to be able to tell you as a shameless plug right now, her book is also out. She just had, it's actually her book birthday today. I'm actually looking at it on Twitter right now. So Lily Michaels is a brilliant beta reader, and I've read her stuff, and I'm so excited for her. So congratulations to Lily. Jessica Heil is a new beta reader for me, but she's given me a lot of feedback on Nemesis, and I'm really excited to be working with her. Is this like an award show? I'm like, I have to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone. But no, it's like I love being able to throw this love because it's just so important to be able to like name people, because these books wouldn't be what they are without you guys. And so to that point, I really have to say, I have to name two people because you talked about the early days. My sister Sarah was probably my first reader ever, and I don't think I would call it beta, but just in terms of like the feedback and support she gave me was like huge. And then my dear friend Sarani, Sarani has read, I believe, all of my work in its roughest form. And has given me great feedback and insight, but she has also too just kind of fueled my ability to say like, yes, I am a writer. Yes, I can do this. Yes, people are entertained by my words. So like Sarani and Sarah are like my OGs, even though like honestly, like the critical feedback in terms of the writing community has been like totally changed in recent times. But like those two people really gave me the first like insight and sort of any feedback at all into what it was like to have someone even like open a story and know that it was me who had read it or written it. So yeah. But yeah, no, it's actually really fun to be able to sit here and like just name everybody, because it's like, I love you guys. You guys are the most amazing people. So yeah. Yeah, it'd be really nice. And then also too, like just my former agent, we don't work together anymore, but Ava like was a huge proponent of Celeste and Ben, and she really helped me to like up my game. So I think it's important to say that too. But I think the last thing I want to talk about, and I think we're getting close on time.
Cool.
I do want to know, I have to know at least one of your like either horror stories of early draft examples or like something major that changed, like either or both.
Okay. So so horror story. I don't really have a horror story. I guess there's a lot of purple prose in Faker initially, and I'm embarrassed about it now when I look back on it. So that can be my horror story. But the one major change that I made to Faker was that so there's like the community home building project that Emmy and Tate work on, and that's what kind of makes them have to work together in the story. Well, that was initially like an employee health workout program, which sounds terrible now that I think about it. And now I don't really even know why I thought that would be a good idea in the first place, because I feel like because it was a construction project, there were so many more opportunities for like Tate to look like a sexy construction worker and be all sweaty and stuff with like his hard hat. And so, yeah, that's a big change, I guess, a pretty major change, because then I had to like change the whole middle of the book. But yeah, what about you?
I guess in terms of horror stories was just like, it's really bizarre to see the different like structural styles I kept falling into. I would use tons of gerunds. I would I went through like whole books where it was like, blah, 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 she said, blinking surprise in surprise. It's like all these ing words, like it was like sentence after sentence, like, what were you doing? That, and I also like, I remember I don't know, I felt like my first draft of Not Suitable for Work was really full of casual swearing. and it's not now. So that was like an interesting thing to go back. It was like, dang, girl, what you doing? Um, I think a big change that was made thanks to beta reading is something that you helped with. And I'm going to just, first of all, if you haven't read Off the Record, I'm sorry, go read Off the Record. This isn't going to spoil it. But in the bathroom scenes in the black moment with Nick was like actually getting way more frisky with those ladies. And Ava was like, "Oh, you've got to take that out. Nick is a man whore." And I was like, "I kind of like it." And then you, Sarah, were like, "No." And I was like, "All right." So it got to be a lot more of Nick being like, "Oh, I cannot do this." But spoiler, and go read the book. But like in the original iteration, Nick was like, "Oh, I'm going to do this." So we changed Nick to be a lot sweeter and a lot truer. But yeah, and I have no regrets on that change. But that's one that makes me laugh because it was a big change.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Whew. Well, editing. I guess that was good for me. Was it good for you, Sarah?
Hell yes, it was good for me.
Whew, excellent. Yeah, no, editing is one of those things that's always a drag, but it is super satisfying. So that was episode 5 of the Quick and Dirty Romance podcast. And if you haven't already read our books, be sure to check them out after you listen and DM us, like we said, with any questions or requests for future episodes. What do you want to hear us talk about? We will talk about it. You can find us on Twitter at Quick and Dirty Rom and on Instagram at Quick and Dirty Romance. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram, both at writer Skye McD.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram too. I am at author Sarah S. And again, please check out our books. They are Not Suitable for Work and Off the Record by Skye McDonald and Faker by Sarah Smith.
So thank you so much for listening. And to close out today, I'm going to leave you with the quote yet again from the Queen, Dolly Parton. And by the way, have you done the Dolly Parton challenge? You need to do the Dolly Parton challenge. It's great fun. But anyway, from the Queen herself, find out who you are and do it on purpose.
We'll see you next time.